Let us get started. Yeah, this is the custom to eat fruits, especially fruits grown from Israel. That is, if you are able to do that, or a new fruit, that is special customs to do with today. All right. I think we're good. Okay. Today is the fifth day, what is today? Today is Thursday. Today is the fifth day of the week, and we're starting the post-traumatic experience of the splitting of the sea. What takes place with the Jewish people? Ooh, I got to share with you the map. So I actually have a map for you here. Make it much easier for us to understand today's Chumash. So, taken from the Kahas Chumash, you'll see on the map that they traveled from Mara south to Elim. Now, someone asked me a question yesterday. I will post it, God willing, on the WhatsApp group when I find the answer. I have to look for it. Why they didn't go in a beeline. They didn't do that yesterday. They traveled to Mara, also in this very zigzagly way. I'm not sure why Hashem needed them to go in that direction. But they traveled again from Mara to Elim. And as you see in the map here, for some reason, they didn't make a beeline to Elim, but they traveled, as you see on the map, to Elim in that direction. And then from Elim, we're going to learn that I believe it said Elim is going to be water, which we'll talk about in the Chumash. You'll see that. I just want to show you the map first. The next picture of map after Elim, they continue to travel south, as you see in this map, and they go down to a place to the Sea of Reeds, and from there to the Sin Desert, and from desert to Dafka, and from Dafka to Alush. And you see Mount Sinai is a little bit more south, a little more east-south till they get to Mount Sinai, but they're still traveling on their way. So again, you see Mara, they went to Elim, they went to the Sea of Reeds, to the Sin Desert, to Dafka, and to Alush. Now you see the actual physical picture of the map, and now we're going to go back to the Chumash and learn inside the Chumash, today's part. Vayavai Elema, as you saw on the map, they came to Elema. And at this place, Elema Sham, Shteim Esrei Einoi Smoyim, there was exactly 12 fountains of water, 12 water fountains, right? Springs, I guess. It had 12 springs coming out of the ground. Rashi says that's, of course, very significant. There are 12 tribes. So Hashem made a miracle that exactly 12 springs are there. Each tribe got their own well, their own spring, their own fountain, and every place has their own fountain, and all the tribes have water to eat. We know, if you were here for yesterday's class, how did they have water in the city of Mara, in the area of the town of Mara? There was a miracle. Remember, Moses threw a branch into the water, and it turned the water sweet that used to be bitter. But now how do they have water in this next stop? It's because there was 12 springs. And also interesting, in the middle of the desert or along the water border there was Shivim Tumarim. There were 70 palm trees, which they were able to eat from. So, and they encamped there by the water. So they had shade, they had some food, I believe, and they had water. They had all the good stuff, beachfront property, and the Jewish people are there on their way to Mount Sinai, and that is about that miraculous stop that had all these. Why 70 trees? Rashi says, because there are 70 elders or 70 leaders and elders among the Jewish people. So Hashem made the miracle, 12 water fountains for the 12 tribes, 70 trees corresponding to the 70 elders of the Jewish people. And then they continued to travel south. Vayisu me Elim. They left. They stopped at Elim. Vayavei kol hadas b'nei Yisrael el midbar Sin. And the Jewish people came to the Sin desert, right? The desert of Sin. Where is it? As we saw on the map, Asher bein Elim. That is between the original stop they left from Elim, between the place called Elim, Uvein Sinai, and between Sinai. I guess Mount Sinai, so they're in the middle, basically between the city of Elim and the place Sinai where they're heading to. Now, it's important, Rashi notes, what day of the month are we holding now? So they've traveled, it was a week till they got to split the sea, and then it's going to be another 3 weeks, a little bit more than 3 weeks. It's going to be a month from when the sea was split until they got to these next stops to Elim, and from Elim to Midbar Sinai, until they got to this place in Midbar Sinai. It took another 3 weeks. So they are exactly a month later. They left Mitzrayim on the 15th day of the month. And now the pasuk tells us, the verse tells us, on the 15th day of the second month, which in Hebrew is called Iyar, Let's say Meretz Mitzrayim, it's exactly 15th day of the month, exactly a month later. They left on the 15th, and now they're arriving on the 15th day of the following month. So Rashi tells us what's going on over here. So he says, how did they eat? We've been talking about water, right? When they came to Mara, the previous town, we said they needed water. But we haven't mentioned food. So Rashi tells us that when the Jews ran out of Mitzrayim, we know they had matzah, right? They didn't have time for the rose to die, to rise. They quickly took the matzah, and with that matzah, they had enough. I guess matzah lasts quite a long time. They had enough matzah to last for 30 days exactly, from the 15th of Nisan till the next month later to the 15th of Iyar. So they had enough matzah, and he says, Rashi says there were 61 meals, exactly 61 meals, because in those days they didn't have a lunch. They had breakfast and dinner, I guess. Those were the 2 meals that they had. So it's 30 days, and they have exactly 60 meals, 61 meals. And he makes the calculation because we're not including the Seder the night before, because that was a meal they had pre-prepared. There was basically 61 meals that was left over. And they finished their last meal of food that they had left with them brought from Mitzrayim. And they're going to need breakfast tomorrow morning. They're going to need food to eat tomorrow morning. They weren't hungry yet because they just finished eating meal, but they know there's nothing in the cupboard for the next day. And Hashem is going to make a miracle that the next day for breakfast, the manna is going to come out of heaven in order to feed the Jewish people. However, before that happens, as soon as they finish their supper, the last meal that they had left, Vayalainu, verse 2, they start to complain. Vayalainu, kol hadas b'nei Yisrael al Moshe, entire community, the children of Israel, complain against Moshe and Aaron Bamidbar in the desert. They were out of food. There's nothing left in the cupboards. They weren't hungry yet because they had just eaten their last meal. It wasn't time for breakfast yet, but they went to Moses, and again, they speak very mean to Moses and Aaron. Instead of talking nicely, they speak very sharp sarcasm again. And we'll see in verse 3, Vayomer aleim b'nei Yisrael, the Jewish people tell them, Mi yuteinu museinu b'yad Hashem, if only we would have died. And they're basically kind of blaming Moses and Aaron. If only God would have killed us in Egypt by the hand of God, Be'eretz Mitzrayim, in the land of Egypt, B'shiftenu asir habasar, while we sat by pots of meat. We would have rather died in Egypt. We had steak over there. We had meat. We had pots of meat, they said over there. Better to die there, but basar b'achleinu lechem, and we had bread. So it sounds like a hamburger, right? We had meat and bread. With soiva, to satisfy ourselves. We had a good amount, a decent amount, enough food. And you, Moses and Aaron, instead, you take us out to this desert. Lahamis, to kill, as called Kahala Zeberav, to murder this whole congregation in death. So this is what you did, Moses and Aaron. God, we would rather, why'd you get involved? Why are you mixing in Moses and Aaron, making plans over here? We would rather Hashem would have killed us with meat. Maybe I'm just thinking in my head, maybe this means, how their brothers and sisters died in Egypt that didn't want to go out. And we followed you. You were our guide. You were our tour guide. You're taking us on this trip. We finished our last food in the cupboard. And so on. Rashi says they could have asked nicely. They could have come and said, Moses and Aaron, we have no food to eat for tomorrow. There's going to be 2 problems here. One is there's a way you request food, There's a way to leave on Google referrals, what's it called? And you leave a thing. There's a way to leave or to management. You could call up, say there's a problem, and you get my product or whatever. Or you could talk the way the Jewish people are talking here. Again, it's with food, and they totally, number one, they bashed Moses and Aaron really bad. Instead of saying we need food for tomorrow, they didn't have a chance to go hungry yet because they just finished their last meal. Granted, they're scared. Number two, when they said to Moses and Aaron, give us food, they didn't just ask for food. They said, we had steak, we had a pot of meat that we were eating from, right? So they're asking actually for meat, and that's the second problem. Is one thing is you want food and you're hungry, but to be gluttonous, that's a no-no. As we're learning in Tanya, that's a problem. So God tells Moses, God says to Moshe, God says, I'm going to rain down bread from the heavens. I'm going to rain down bread from the heavens. I'm going to rain down bread. Like it rains money. It's going to rain bread. And the nation will go out. They'll collect every day. Every day, I'm going to give them enough food for the day, right? Like imagine getting a salary every day. You get enough to live that day. Hashem's going to give them enough food for the day. Why am I not going to give them, a stipend for a month ahead? Why am I going to make it every day that they have to come back to the marketplace to collect the food every single day? Because I want to test them. Will they follow my Torah or not? So I'm not giving them an open credit card to spend. I'm not giving them unlimited food, enough food to go. They don't have to worry. Every day, I'm going to give them enough money on their credit card, enough food, is the analogy here, just for that day. Why? Because I want to see how they're going to be responsible with the food that I'm going to give them. For example, I don't want any leftovers. The manna has to be completely finished every day. I'm going to give them only enough for the day, and they should finish that day's amount. I want to see it. Number two, Rashi says, I do not want them working on Shabbat. I don't want them going out on Shabbos. So part of my test here is will they trust me? Will they believe in me? Will they do business with the right manners? If I'll just give them enough, then it won't be a question. But how do I make the test? By only giving them enough for that day. I want to see that they finish every day the quota that they're supposed to have. Finish your plate. And number two, I also want to see that they won't go out on Shabbos because it's a test. Because how are you going to provide for Shabbos? I'm only giving you enough for one day at a time. What's going to happen when Friday comes? So Hashem's going to tell them what's supposed to happen when Friday comes. And when it will come Friday, and they're going to bring home the daily portion. And Rashi explains the verse like this: it will turn out to be double. You're going to come home with your daily collection amount that you're supposed to collect. And lo and behold, Rashi says, a miracle took place. And that was how Hashem was testing them, that the manna turned into a double portion because they needed for Friday and they needed for Shabbat. And therefore, the manna ended up turning into a double portion. Some people say that Hashem actually dropped more down and there was enough for everyone to collect 2 meals. But Rashi is saying, no, it was a miracle that it was enough. And that's the test that Hashem is giving them, only giving them enough for one day. Collect each day, and I will provide. Hashem really wants to test them with their finances to make sure it's correct, right? A business test. So Moses and Aaron turned. So God tells Moses and Aaron, "I'm going to bring on this food that's going to rain down from heaven." So Moses and Aaron go back to the Jewish people. Erev at night. They say at night, v'yadatem, and you will know. Ki Hashem, that it was God. Took you out of Egypt. Unlike you just complained to us, blaming us that we are killing you, and we should have left you in Egypt, and God would have taken your lives in Egypt. Why did we tell you to be your tour guides and schlep you out here to the desert? Tonight, you're going to know that it wasn't us who schlepped you out here to the desert, but it was Hashem who guided and pulled you out to the desert. Okay, so stop telling us, stop blaming us. Your complaint's not against us, Moses and Aaron are telling them. Your complaint's against God. What do you want from us? You understand? Like, why do you keep on blaming us for this thing? We're just relaying God's message to you. Stop blaming us for Hashem's message. You take it up with God. And your complaint, we should have died, it's against God. You're not complaining against me. And tonight, you're going to find out very clearly that it was Hashem who did it, because God's going to bring the birds that are going to bring them the delicious meat from the birds. And it will be morning. You'll see God's glory. That he heard your complaints on Hashem on God. And what do you want from us? What do you want from us, Jewish people? You're complaining against us. This is all directly dealing with Hashem. We are simply guiding you with the way that Hashem wants you to be guided. Now, Rashi tells us, why did Hashem, what's going to happen is, I believe, if I understand correctly, the meat's going to come down at night. The birds, which we'll learn about, miraculously will fly in the desert and land in the desert where the Jews are. They're called slav, a certain kind of a bird, will come at night, and the manna will come in the morning. And the answer is because the Jews were not so off with complaining about not having bread to eat, okay? Because they were on their last meal. So you might say, you know what? They should have asked nicer. It was very not nice how they attacked Moses and Aaron, but they needed food to eat. Where they went wrong was demanding steak, where they wanted meat. That was already you don't demand from God that you want steak. You want food to eat so you could live. A Jew prays to have finances so we could live. But to praying to Hashem, I guess you could pray for a steak. I don't want to tell anyone who likes steak should pray and then can pray to steak. But demanding in this way, give us steak. Oh, I'll tell you what's even more wrong. Believe it, oh, lo and behold, if you remember, we said the Jews left Egypt with animals. They had tons of animals. Why couldn't they use their own animals for steak? No, they wanted free. They wanted Hashem. They wanted to go to the restaurant. Someone else should cover the bill. They didn't want to use their own meal. So here they are freaking out, talking very not nicely to Moshe and Aaron. And it's not just that they needed bread, but they wanted meat. And they even had their own meat, for heaven's sake. Why are you coming here screaming at us? It's not like they didn't have food. They had all the meat from the animals that they had. So therefore, it's considered very not nice what the Jewish people, how they attacked Moses and Aaron, wanting to have the food the way that they wanted to get it. And Rashi says that Moses and Aaron were attacked by everyone, the men, the women, the children, the Eidurav, the mixed multitudes, that the converts of the Egyptians that came up with that. So he says that they were really attacked by them. And we're saying it wasn't right the way that they were attacked. Moses says, at night, oh, you're going to have meat. Why at night? And lechem b'boker and bread in the morning. So God's going to deliver. The delivery service will come in the morning. The Walmart order will be delivered. The Whole Foods order will be delivered to your house in the morning. You're going to have bread, and at night the Whole Foods order to your house is going to be meat. I don't know if probably they sell some kosher meat. I don't really order from there, but you're going to get some Parky's kosher your delivery at night. So Rashi says it's because bread was a good thing. Bread you get in the morning because it gives you time to prepare it and eat it and cook it, whatever you need to do. So Hashem gave it in the morning. The bread, the meat, which God really was not happy about, took it offensive the way the Jewish people, that it wasn't nice the way, I don't know if it took offensive, but the Jewish people asked not nicely for it, and they really didn't need it, and they had their own meat. God said, I'm going to give it to you at night, which you won't have a lot of time to prepare it. You're going to have to grill it late at night and cook it. I'm going to only give it to you at nighttime. When God will give you meat at night, and bread in the morning, the shvaya to satisfy yourself. And Rashi also learns that bread is how one should satisfy themselves, stuff, but not fill themselves on meat. Meat is something you eat a little bit of, but not stuff yourself. Shmaya Hashem is by God hearing your complaints. All of that you complain against God. What do you keep on complaining to us? Not on us as your complaints. Hashem, but on Hashem, He's the one dictating everything that takes place over here. And Moses tells Aaron, Emerald called Aspen Israel, tell the Jewish people, come close before God. There was the cloud of glory that was still there. Remember, they were following the cloud of glory. There was no temple yet. So come before God, meaning come to the cloud. Because he heard your complaints. When Aaron spoke to the Jewish people, he turned to the desert, and God's presence was revealed in the cloud of glory that the Jews traveled with inside the desert. And that is the end, my friends, of today's interesting Chumash. Any questions or comments on today's Chumash? We've studied today another 2 stops the Jews have taken in the desert, right? Another 2 stops that the Jews have taken in the desert. And the experience that took place is the first stop. There were 12 springs, 12 water fountains over there, and 70 date trees. And in the next stop, we spoke about the Jews ran out of food finally. It's been a month since they've been eating the matzah. They're complaining that they want meat. And the response that Hashem has to the Jewish people at that point in time. Any questions or comments on today's Chumash?
Can you just explain Rashi's comment about how the manna was enough for Shabbat versus it just having been dropped double?
Yeah, no, there's a debate Rashi brings. I believe there's 2 ways to interpret the verse. Some say that God gave them, right? So it's like a delivery. Like imagine, if you look in the Gemara, it's a very interesting story. I believe those who were holier had literally delivered to their door. I was telling actually my siblings, that's why I mentioned it, saying we're living in the desert times, because whenever I need food, right, most of the food I need, my wife needs eggs the next morning for the kids. We order from Walmart a lot of that stuff. So she clicks on the Walmart app, or you could get from Target today, clothes or anything you want. You get from Whole Foods within 2 hours, the food's delivered to your door. It's amazing. We're literally living in pretty amazing times. So there's a debate here. Rashi says there's a different opinion that says that the delivery actually was double on Friday. So let's say you get your order from Whole Foods, they would deliver double the amount of food because you can't get deliveries on Shabbos because you can't collect it. You can't go to your front place and you won't have to be able to prepare the food on Shabbos. So you got a double delivery. Rashi says no. Rashi brings a different opinion that it was really a Friday delivery was a regular delivery. You'd go and you go out your front door, wherever you'd go to collect it, depending how holy you were, how far away it was from your house. You go and collect the manna, and miraculously it came into your house. The manna turned to double the amount than what you needed. That's Rashi's opinion of the story. By the way, just to add a little interesting here, Dasan and Aviram, those two troublemakers, wanted to make trouble, I believe, in the story, and they took their own manna on Shabbos and they spread it out on the outside. So people will think manna fell again and Moses is a liar, but they were always making trouble for Moses. But yeah, Lisa, did I answer your question about the about Rashi's interpretation of the manna arriving on Friday? Okay, good.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Yes, pleasure. Shuki, yes. Shuki, if we could hear your voice, it's a pleasure.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you.
But just make sure to speak in English. We don't all know Hebrew.
Yeah, it's my honor. No, I'm actually more American than Israeli. I'm here longer.
That's what all Israelis say.
Yes, 30 years. It's more than more than I spend in Israel.
Go ahead.
Regarding to the man, I don't know if I missed it while you were talking, but another thing I heard, which make it even more miracle and interesting, that everybody said like Israel got man, but I heard people when they eating it, whatever they were thinking, this was the flavor. I think in one of your lessons or somebody mentioned to me that like whatever they think that they want, like the desire, this was the taste they felt from the man, which make it amazing, like unbelievable.
Yeah, so I think that's in tomorrow's class.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. It's coming up because when the Jews eat it, how does it get the name? By the way, I don't think we said, did we say man? It said lechem min hashamayim, bread from heaven. It doesn't say man. It might have said man, I'm not even sure. But the word man will come about because the Jews will say, what is this stuff? And I believe Rashi over there will bring, but you're correct, that it tasted like whatever you wanted it to taste like. It didn't fall yet. Moses is telling them it's going to fall. So we're going to read more in details the name of it and so on. It said bread, I think it said meat and bread from heaven will fall down, will come down to the Jewish people. So yeah, that's Shuki. No, don't be sorry. That's great. We'll learn in greater detail all about the man with Hashem's help tomorrow. Shukach Shuki. Yes. Ira.
So just I read somewhere, it says here that regarding how they complained to Moses and Aaron, it says that people, when you give them one miracle, they want more and more. And it says that if a miracle is what gives you people faith, such faith won't last long. So that's why they kept on asking for more and more also until, why did they not believe God was in control after he took them out, of Egypt? He made them cross the sea. They kept on, this is only a month later and they're saying, come on, what else you got for me? I still don't believe because.
Yeah. By the way, I one of the ways I've understood in my mind the problem with the Jewish people in the desert, because in a sense, you say they had more than anyone else, right? They had more than anybody else. They've experienced more miracles in Hashem more than anybody else. So how are they like doing the golden calf? Like, how do they do that kind of stuff? How do they keep on not listening? And you're answering the question. I think it's like a spoiled kid. That's the way the analogy I like to use is a kid whose parents just give them anything they want. Does it mean that's a better kid? Do they respect the parents more? Or actually they might respect the parents less because just give, and they don't really respect the parents. They just respect the miracle. They just like the fact that the parents are giving them. So then for a second, when they get told no, when that spoiled kid who gets parents give them everything, it makes them just crazy. They drive the kids to soccer every day and they get the favorite cereal the kids like. And the parents are like, our cars are like an Uber service for their kid and a restaurant for their child. And they clean the child's laundry. Question is the kid now respect the parents more or does the parent become a shmata in the kid's eye? And it could be the more you're giving sometimes is actually you're asking for trouble because the second you tell the kid no, it could really be a dangerous thing versus a kid who doesn't have much in life appreciates what everyone gives them, right?
Right.
And also they need to be rehabilitated because they're also coming from slavery. We can't forget that also. Yeah.
Right. That goes back to what we said the other day about, believing in God, faith versus, I forget what was the other word? faith.
It's not a healthy situation to believe in God because of miracles, I guess. It's not, it's very interesting. We'll say like, wow, if we lived in those times. No, we understand logically and rationally that there is a God that created to the world. But who says if Hashem would just start making miracles, you know, and lightning and all kinds of stuff, who says that that's the right, I believe because you proved it to me. Is that logical? Is that a healthy human being to live in that kind of way? It's very interesting. We always wish we want to have these miracles, but is that really the healthiest way of life? That's a good, that's the point there, I guess.
But the thing, I mean, my father, Allah Shem, always used to say, every day's a miracle, look around you. You know, God put us here, you know, you got nature, everything.
It is, correct. By the way, maybe it's the same as a parent hitting a child. The kid listens when the parent hits him. A miracle is the same thing, just in the opposite way. I'm listening because I have no choice, because it's such a big miracle, I have no choice but to listen. Are you really respecting your parents then? Are you really listening? No, you don't understand. Just it's such a big miracle, I have no choice but to listen. Right. I'm not listening because I appreciate it. It's because this most coolest thing happened, so I have to listen. So I don't know if it's very different than getting a slap and listening because of that.
Right. So based on the faith, you know, miracles not giving you, not based.
We are logical people that believe in Hashem because it makes sense and it's natural and it's normal to us, not because crazy miracles are happening.
And it comes down to love of Hashem.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Love. When you got to get to that level where it's love of Hashem and not, you know, realize the miracles are here.
Right, but I think another thing, imagine a parent always has to give a kid confidence, right? You always have to tell your kid good things. You're so good, because you want the kid to grow up and have confidence. But you don't want to live your whole life with the kid still 35 years old, and you're like, every day the parent needs to call up and give him confidence for him to be. At some point, you got to grow up and have your own confidence on your own. You got to make it on your own. You can't keep on feeding. You can't give you miracles every day. Right. That's how I think that, by the way, I look at it as today's situation. Many kids, right? I don't mean to put anybody down, but it's a reality in our world, is that the kids grow up, they live in the basement, right? When they come up, why should they move into their own house and have to take life struggles? Why should I get a mortgage? Why should I do this stuff? My parents, I leave my dirty laundry, I leave my laundry in the basket dirty. I come back in the morning, it's folded in my drawers, back inside my drawers. And I just walk into the kitchen and I get supper, and supper's right there for me on the kitchen, a fully cooked supper. I don't even have to wash the dishes. I just leave the kitchen and it's washed. And there's no mortgage, there's no headaches, there's no taxes, you know, because no mortgage, no real estate taxes. It's great. Life is great. What's wrong? Why should I want to go into Israel and build my own house? So you kind of get this either slaps or miracles is not a healthy, perhaps it's a right way to start, that Hashem lets us know he's here. But is this continuity the right message for us to just every day get miracles, and that's why we believe in Hashem?
Right, and just one last thing, I'm not getting into politics or anything, but it also said here that most of the countries in the world and most people, human nature, is that everywhere in the world, it's a big state, limited by definition. The bigger the state, the less the individual's freedom is. If you think about communism.
Okay.
And America was an experiment with limited government. You know, that was the only one that had limited government and people had more freedom. And it was based on the Hebrew Bible. So that was the experiment of America versus Europe. So it's a similar thing with them leaving, you know, and then decide, listen, I want to go back. You know, it's like coming to America where you have all this, you're heading, you know, but no, I want to go back to, you know, Russia or somewhere where I was taken care of. Right.
So you're saying some people might like they might like jail because I get my meal delivered to me in my I don't have to do anything. I have to go to the bathroom.
You don't know. You get more.
I take a shower. I go to the bathroom. The heat's on. I get the food delivered to my door.
You can even get kosher food now.
Right. You get kosher. You might have $1 million in some places if you go to the right jail. You like what? Why should I go take on all these responsibilities of this headache?
Right. So America, that was America was based on. If you look at the dollar bill, we all know in God we trust. So that, you know, that was the American.
I think he's saying also the power, the individual, the uniqueness of that God gives us is a beautiful letter from George Washington, I believe, to, right? Tell me if I'm making a mistake, to the shul in the Touro synagogue. And they wrote to George Washington saying, thank you for giving us our freedoms. And he said back, it's an unalienable right, something like that, gifted by God, that you have a right to be for your own freedom and your right to do as you wish. So that's what our country is based off of, right? I hope it'll stay that way. But
that's what it originally was based on. But politics.
We're not getting into politics here. Okay, very good, Ira. Thanks for those excellent points. Thanks for 3 great points. Anybody else want to share something before we move on to today's Tanya? No, okay. Thank you very much, Shuki. Thank you, Ira, for helping me out over here making
One
this.
more thing, one just
Yes,
small
yes, Shuki, yes.
One thing I just heard yesterday, because what you spoke with Ira about, even in jail, they have kosher and everything, something very interesting. It wasn't in a good
Shuki,
occasion.
I'm not so proud of it that they have kosher in jail.
No, but what I'm saying, it's like, it's like I heard it like, unfortunately, in a very bad, it was during a funeral, some people talk. And there is a neighborhood in Germany, there's a neighborhood that because everybody is Jewish over there, a lot of Jewish over there, the public school, it's amazing. The public school actually teach Hebrew and eat kosher in the public
Wow.
in Germany. Yeah, which it's interesting, but again, we're very spoiled today, thank God,
Shuki, I love you.
We love you too.
All
This
right,
one-
good. I didn't hear you tell it to David in a while. You needed
The
to give a
what?
David, I love you.
Oh, David, I love you too. But then
Okay,
David,
good.
everybody wants me to love them too. I love everybody.
All right, beautiful. Very good. I wanted to wake David up over there. Okay. Let us move on to today's Tanya. And someone needs to remind me to press stop and start to the recording.